I think Gameranx and maybe Asmongold are the two people that I'd trust about the Switch 2. Gameranx did it before you buy, so I'm gonna check it out and probably make fun of the Switch 2 a lot during it, and talk about some of the drama as of late. See what he's got to say about it. Oh, here we go. Probably gonna be canceled for hating on the garbage company that is Nintendo.
All right, the Nintendo Switch 2 is here. Shout out to Nintendo for sending it to us like a little early. We've had it in our hands for 24 hours now, so we're gonna do what we do with these hardware before you buys, where we just go in and give some quick first impressions. Just talk about some hardware insights here. We'll talk more in depth about the games separately, but some of this might feel a little bit nitpicky here and there, but it's essentially me going through and just trying to point out as many little interesting things I can.
Oh, I'm gonna be very nitpicky, because I don't like Nintendo. And I'll probably end up getting Switch 2 on sale in like 3 or 4 years. Maybe longer than that. I still haven't gotten a Switch.
Just for you guys, if you're interested in the Switch, if you didn't get your hands on a Switch 2, but just to know what you're getting into.
Look, long story short, if you just want to like skip to the end, is Nintendo Switch 2 worth it? I would argue, unless you're super excited for Mario Kart World, no, not right now. It's really just the launch line.
That's usually how it goes with any console. In every new generation that happens, but people still buy it up.
That's all it comes down to. This launch, this Switch 2, isn't really surprising. You know what you're getting. It's a spec bump. It's an upgrade of the original Switch. So, is it the most incredible thing ever? No, but I think down the line, with a really good lineup, it'll be another good Nintendo handheld. If
the Switch 2 is going to be incredible in my opinion.
Feel like Nintendo.
So first things first, if you're coming from an original launch Nintendo Switch to the Switch 2, this feels premium. It kind of reminds me a little bit more of the Switch OLED in terms of finish on the back and stuff like that. But overall, when you hold this, it just generally feels sturdier, a little bit more premium, a little bit more like quality made. And I think some of that comes down to the Joy-Con connections, which I'll get to in a little bit. But ultimately, weight-wise, to me, this is just my personal,
I really like the Switch 2. I just really wish that it wasn't Nintendo software running on it.
Experience. Maybe my hands are a little weak, but I did find it noticeably heavier. But with that just comes a little bit more room for your hands on the Joy-Cons, because the Joy-Cons themselves are just a little bit longer. This device is bigger than the original Nintendo Switch significantly. Even the Switch OLED, which I have compared next to here, it is bigger than that. It's not the biggest handheld I've used by.
I want a Steam Deck with removable controllers like the Switch. It's probably patented. Probably can't do that. Or maybe it's just too difficult to do. I don't know. Because I like to have the screen sitting in front of me with the controllers in my hand.
Far, but it's a good size. The upgraded screen size is definitely noticeable, and as much as I wish this was OLED, so far the screen has been pretty responsive, pretty sharp. Unfortunately, not the greatest performance if you bring it outside, but why are you bringing this thing outside right away?
PSP, you can play it outside. Remember that commercial? Remember the PSP was advertised that you could play it outside? Feels like a step back, huh?
Not like us, right? We're insane. We take these consoles and we immediately bring them out into the real world for some reason. But again, hand feel is good. It's a bit less rattly. It feels a little bit less like a toy and more of like, a fancy, expensive device. The fact that it's got 2 USB-C ports, one on the bottom, one on the top, that's great. The bottom one, of course, is for the dock connection, but the top is for, like, I guess, an accessory, but also both ports charge. I made sure to check that. The SD card slot, nicely enough, is actually just tucked underneath the kickstand.
I really like that kickstand. That's a nice kickstand. Way better than the original Switch.
Make sure you have a good enough micro SD card, because I tried to take the one from my original Switch and it didn't hack it. You need the extreme SD cards rated. But speaking of the kickstand, I like the kickstand a lot. While it's thinner and you would assume it's flimsy, it's not, because of the quality of the material of the back body.
Yeah, I figured that kickstand would be flimsy, but also be somehow strong. Just like the Switch 1.
It just feels really sturdy, and it's got a really, really strong range of motion. You can really do a lot with this thing. Also, the game card slot, I think, is really nice. They've compensated for people like me who have short, stubby, weird fingernails, so this thing is easy to pop open, and then also it's just got a nice connective point to it. It's like really sturdy. And
I really like the idea that Nintendo has with the cartridges. I wish that it was, the actual full game on it. But I think that we should have different mediums of accessing games rather than just digital. I think there's something about the collectible aspect, and also we wouldn't have to have a whole bunch of storage on our systems to have a bunch of games, and that takes up money. You realize it costs like, I think it's $1 every time you download a game on Steam. I think it costs Steam $1. We could get away from that if we just had cartridge or disc-based games again.
It slides right in with like a nice little rail. I appreciate small little redesign elements like that. Also, as much as I wish the Joy-Cons had a bit more color to them, I do appreciate that it feels like the black finish, the black matte finish, is surprisingly fingerprint resistant. I mean, I've been manhandling this thing for 24 hours with my grubby mitts, mostly playing handheld, and you don't really see a lot of fingerprints on it. The screen, of course, you're gonna see fingerprints, but on the black finish, not so bad. Better than I expected. The Joy-Cons themselves, I was not convinced. I like the way the old Joy-Cons slid on and clicked, but now after using them, this just makes sense. It doesn't make the cool snap noise anymore, but it still makes a cool noise. But ultimately, I keep using the word connection, but like it just feels like a good connective point. The back trigger is easy to release. It snaps right back on. It feels like a little bit magic and now, especially too, going back to the old Switch and awkwardly sliding them off. It never felt awkward, but now using this and how just easy on, easy off this is, the original Switch feels awkward in comparison, so good upgrade. The Joy-Cons themselves, I do wish at this point, like a Steam Deck or something like that, there was a little bit more of a dip to them, like a hand grip to them. I understand the design, they're still going for you taking it off and using it as a little controller, but now that it's a little bigger, a little heavier, I wish my hands here had a bit more to grip other than just a flat surface.
Yeah, it's got that PSP problem. PSP had that same problem, and I'm pretty sure they fixed it with the Vita, because the Vita felt way better, and it kind of had a bump back there. I figured the Switch 2 is just flat. It looked flat.
Of course, a lot of this is first impressions, but also just personal preference, so you may feel differently. Otherwise, though, the Joy-Cons are good. The straps that they...
I don't really care about the console itself. The console itself is fine. It's great. It's just the Nintendo software and just Nintendo in general that I don't like about it.
Come with are good, and believe it or not, and I said this in a previous video on my other channel, youtube.com/JakeBaldino, I went in depth when I previewed it talking about the mouse functionality, and I'm actually still genuinely surprised how good that mouse functionality actually is. I don't have a ton of gameplay footage of it here. I've only just started using it with a launch unit, but I think some people are going to be surprised. Whether or not developers and Nintendo, the first-party developers, support it long-term.
It's really cool. I don't think that it's there yet. I think it's kind of a gimmick right now, and they're just trying something, and they got some kind of weird technology in the works. Could you imagine what the next iteration of the mouse control would be like? That'd be really cool. I think they'd come up with something really good.
I don't know, but I just found it more precise than I expected, and navigating menus in games like Civ were actually pretty good. Moving on over to the Joy-Con grip, this pack-in, like this is the simple version,
I like the way it looks. It looks cooler. It looks more sci-fi than the original one.
Really like it. I think that design-wise, it has this bit of negative space by the palms.
Yeah, it's got that weird bump right there. That seems like it would be uncomfortable.
And I feel like it means your palms, like your thumb here, is kind of resting in a weird spot. It feels like a bit of a downgrade design-wise, but still, I'm glad that they...
I see what they're going for. It's like kind of that Kirby look.
Pack this in with the console. It's still good to just snap them in and get playing on something that feels more like a controller. I just wish they didn't tweak the design so much, because it's like an if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. But the experience so far has been great. The menus and stuff have been really snappy. Jumping into the eShop, backing out of the eShop, checking out the Nintendo Switch online stuff, it feels way faster. You don't sit there... You're not dealing with that loading, like menus overall. It just feels way more eager to jump into things.
Yeah, but will we be able to keep our games and our data for, you know, the rest of our lives and pass it down to our kin? Probably not. They'll probably shut everything down in 10 years and you lose everything because the games aren't actually on the cartridges. When you go out and buy a cartridge 10 years in the future and you go to plug it in, it's going to require an update. And there ain't gonna be an update because the shop's not gonna be there.
doesn't feel like it's struggling behind like the weight of its own stuff it's got going on, if that makes sense. And UI wise and experience wise overall, it's incredibly familiar. You're gonna jump into this and you're not gonna be like, ooh, it's a brand new thing. It feels like an evolution of the Nintendo Switch. The menu UI, very, very similar.
Yeah, but the menus, like, the Nintendo Switch was already behind. They're just catching up a little bit, but they're still behind.
The bottom button icons are a little bit redesigned, a little quirkier, a little cuter, new sounds and menu sounds all around, which I do appreciate. The new Switch 2 chat functionality and all that stuff, as much as I don't like that it's got a dedicated button on the handheld that like you technically have to pay a subscription for, I don't love that, and I wasn't really able to test that stuff too much anyway. I did test the microphone, and it's decent enough. I'd say it gets the job done. It sounds kind of on par with like one of your lower cost gaming headsets. Overall, the experience is good. The game cartridge thing felt pretty natural, as much as there's a whole other video we could talk about digital ownership and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, like Switch 2 sounds fine. I want it, actually. I want it pretty badly, but not with the Nintendo software on it. I want to see what I could do to this thing. I want to see what happens when people hack it. And they say, oh, it can't be hacked. This one can't be hacked. We'll see. We'll see. If not, then somebody's going to take all your designs and just make something better, and I'll get that.
All of that stuff has been pretty seamless, and that's interesting considering sometimes Nintendo stuff isn't really seamless. It really feels like they've honed a lot here. The dock itself still feels relatively simple, like it did. It feels, you know, plastic, a little bit lighter than I would hope, but it gets the job done. It's a dock. When it is docked...
Well, let's see what kind of problems it's going to have in the going forward. Because, you know, a bunch of people are going to be having, like, Joy-Con drift. They're going to get, like, bowing of the screens, you know. Remember how it was with the Switch 1? I'm sure that they've ironed out a lot of those issues, but there's always issues. Something else will pop up. That's why I always wait.
Having HDR is great, I think, on screen. It is really nice to see, like, a good, high-quality Switch game and Switch interface on a TV with vibrant colors, better fidelity, you know, the power a lot of people were asking for.
Yeah, but $700 though. It's kind of a lot of money.
The dock is very simple. I'm glad it just has power, HDMI, which it also comes with a high-speed HDMI cable, and also there's an Ethernet port, which is good because I've noticed that download speeds on just the device itself via Wi-Fi, even with really kick-ass Wi-Fi, it's still pretty slow. And with the dock, while the Switch itself has really good fingerprint,
it's probably slow because it has to run through their servers and make sure that you're not doing anything naughty.
Resistance, the dock does not. The dock did not seem to get that treatment, so just be aware. You're gonna get fingerprints all over this thing, especially if you're manhandling it like I am. I keep using the word manhandling also. I should probably stop that. Anyway, the only other...
Yeah, I keep saying crashing out. I've been trying to stop saying that.
Thing experience-wise, and this is a very small thing, but some people I think would appreciate knowing this, is that the wake-up time is ever so slightly less like it's like a matter of when you press the power button, comes alive, you hit the button, you gotta hit it. There's like a millisecond delay that the original Switch doesn't have, that this does. It's really, really a very small thing to point out. It's not a big deal, but some people might notice it. And the games, so far, a couple...
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Couple of things. The big one, you know, especially
I care
if you got
about the
bundle,
games, yes.
Mario Kart World. My first impression is that it doesn't feel like a game worth $80, but it is another good Mario Kart.
Yeah, that's what everybody's been saying. And people were trying to defend it with their heart and soul and being, saying that everyone saying this is not worth $80 is a monster. It's people's lives. People worked hard to make these games. They cost $300 million to make. They didn't have to make it open world.
A lot of what you expect, but there's fun little variations in terms of like how you navigate the world. In between the kind of more open tracks, the level designs are absolutely incredible. Grinding on rails is really cool. Surfing on waves when you switch to a boat feels even better this time around. And honestly, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple, but I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. I highly recommend trying the knockout mode. I think that's really good. I would
love to pick this game up for $20.
Also tested that out online, and that's something I want to point out is how seamless that was. I was just in the game and I just hopped online real quick.
Like if somebody's got it at a yard sale, or if I see it at a flea market or like a game exchange, $20, I'll pick it up.
Instantly found a match right away and started racing with people, and it's good. I was just on Wi-Fi, I had no connection issues whatsoever, and just had a good race. I lost, of course, but that's how it goes with me. What is cool though, and especially playing with my wife who is more of a casual gamer, she did notice the visual fidelity with Mario Kart, like on a TV, blown up, high resolution, HDR, high frame rate. She was like, wow, this is definitely the best looking Mario Kart by a mile. And I was like, yes it is. So you definitely will notice that. Other things in terms of like on the nerdier side, Cyberpunk 2077 in my limited experience does seem like a good port, and I think people are ultimately going to be surprised.
Yeah, I figured it would be. I probably wouldn't pick it up on a Switch 2. It just seems kind of like a novelty, or for people who already just didn't have Cyberpunk that maybe would probably play it on a Switch 2. I don't know why you would. Play Cyberpunk on the go, I guess. There are way better options, man. I don't know if I'd get a Switch 2 for Cyberpunk.
Where normally you think of a big, massive AAA game ported to the Nintendo Switch, you think very blurry, but it works. Here, it's better. Is it still like the ideal way to play Cyberpunk 2077? I don't know, but if you only have a Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 and you've been dying to try this game, you just know that you're not getting like a ultra compromised version. You're getting a decent playable version of the game that actually looks fairly good and you can get immersed. Again, I just want to say, like, I think some people are going to be surprised if they jump into that. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, it was still the price. I don't think Jake Baldino really feels that price because he's got a lot of money, because he's like a big YouTuber. But for regular people like me, man, that is almost $1,000. Especially if you're going to get more than one game.
And ultimately, I think that's where I want to wrap with this. Just first impressions is that for me, for the Nintendo Switch, I love seeing people line up for the midnight release and stuff like that. Me personally, I wasn't excited for launch just because I'm not a big Mario Kart guy. But for me, the feeling is that the best is yet to come. With things like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4 on the horizon, it really feels like this is going to be another solid Nintendo device. Right now, the early days, couple of launch games, couple of experiences, couple of ports and stuff like that. It's fun to mess around with and see the improvements in the hardware, but also just getting the specs that a lot of people have wanted, a lot of the power, a lot of the capability people have been wanting the Nintendo Switch to have for a long time now. Is this thing a supercomputer? No, but it is a significant upgrade that I think is going to lead to some really cool games down the line from Nintendo. Yes, I hope it enables Nintendo first-party creators to make kick-ass games.
I just want my games, though. I just want my games. So, if I wait long enough, it'll probably be cracked and I'll be able to play all the Switch 2 games on a Steam Deck or just on my PC. I'll probably wait till then. $700, man. Maybe if it was $300.
But also, maybe this time around, third-party developers can have a bit more fun and a little bit more wiggle room. That's ultimately it. That's my big phrase for this roundup review first impressions. It's great. It seems like a solid device with some little things, but ultimately, the best is yet to come. And I hope this has a future. It's Nintendo. It's going to have a future. What am I saying? Like, oh yeah, good job, kid. Hope it works out for you. It's Nintendo. Anyway, I think I've talked enough. These are first impressions of the Nintendo Switch 2. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. If you jumped in and got one, I want to know what you're thinking, what launch games you're playing. I just started playing a little Hitman as well, just to see how it runs on this, because I'm a big fan of that game. But let me know what you're playing. Let me know if you jumped in. If you're waiting, if you're holding out.
I'm going to wait for the used market. Probably pick it up on Facebook Marketplace, somebody just trying to get rid of it. Probably where I'll get one in like 2 years.
Or you just didn't get one. Let me know your thought process. Are you waiting until there's more games, more first-party games, anything like that? Let's talk. I do want to say, keep your eyes peeled because this was just first impressions.
I'm going to wait to see what all kind of drama that they're going to get into and decide from there how much it's going to be worth to me. Because if it's too bad, I might just, hold out until I can get one for $100. Or just not get one.
I have a lot more videos on this, especially if you guys are interested. So the hardware, game reviews for the specific games, let us know. You can let us know just by clicking the like button. We appreciate that. It legit helps. That's really all we ever ask of you guys, though, really. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, I guess I'm just out on the new stuff. It doesn't interest me. Nothing interests me. I don't want to get Cyberpunk. Don't care about Mario Kart World. Maybe that From Software game, but I'm also really not a big From Software guy. We'll have to see. Maybe the new Zelda. Maybe the new Zelda will be enough to get me. Breath of the Wild is the one that got me for the Switch 1 when it came out. And that's where I fell in love with Stardew Valley. Now, Stardew Valley is one of my favorite games. Breath of the Wild's pretty good too. I didn't really like Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't have a Switch by then either. What do you think about it, man? Let me know. Buy a t-shirt down there in the description. I'm out.